President Trump announcing that America is closer than ever to the end of the conflict with Iran as his blockade on the Strait of Hormuz chokes the life out of the terror regime's economy, completely halting economic trade going into and out of Iran by sea. Now, according to CENTCOM, listen to this, 10 vessels have complied with turnaround orders and 0 ships have broken through since the start of the U.S. blockade on Monday. Here's the president speaking to Maria Bartiromo.
Is this war over?
I think it's close to over, yeah. I mean, I view it as very close to over. You know what? If I pulled up stakes right now, it would take them 20 years to rebuild that country. And we're not finished. But we'll see what happens. I think they want to make a deal very badly. If you told me that we were going to be at only $92 a barrel, $92 a barrel, I would have been very surprised. Gasoline's coming down very soon and very big.
So you think gas prices will be lower before the midterm elections?
I think they'll be much lower before midterm, much lower.
Meanwhile, the Democrats are still doubling down on their desire to see Iran win this conflict. Virginia Senator Mark Warner is now suggesting that America's the bad guy here.
In so many ways, 46 days in, America is less strong, and the Iranian regime, which is, by the way, more radical than it was before, can, on some level of truth, say, we just took on America and Israel and fought them to a tie, although maybe even more than a tie. Looking at how we are viewed around the world, we have spent 75 years trying to say, with all our flaws, and God knows we got a lot of flaws, we were the good guys. We don't have that claim anymore.
A lot of Iranian talking points proliferating, Jesse.
The United States has never been stronger, and I've never been more proud of the Navy. We came in, they said there was a quagmire. They said we had no strategy in the street, and we took 2 missile-guided destroyers and sailed them right up the gut, right down the middle, miles off the coastline, and Iran didn't do anything. They said they were going to do something. They did nothing. They sent 1 drone. We knocked it out of the sky. Right now, we're doing some demining operations. And guess how many mines we found, Kaylee? 0. The Iranians were bluffing. So we're going to continue the demining operations to create a little safe passageway for these other foreign tankers. And once that's over, we do a few escorts and we hand it off to the NATO navies. Iran is closed for business completely. They can't sell anything to anybody else. They can't buy anything from anybody else. And if you notice, there's not a lot of stuff built in Iran. Okay, so especially after we bombed all their steel and petrochemicals, they're done. They're going to lose about $500 million a day. All their oil wells are going to probably blow up in about 3 weeks. They can't store it. And China can't suck up all that cheap sanctioned oil anymore. And sooner or later, Xi Jinping is going to call the gay Ayatollah and say, no mas. And that's what you see happening here. And right now we have 3 aircraft carriers about to be in the region, 10,000 more Marines who can either do boarding, seize card, coastal assaults if they get cute in negotiations. And negotiations are pretty simple now. The only leverage they have once they lost the strait is uranium. And it's buried under the rubble. We're keeping a close eye on it, and they haven't moved it yet. So the market loves the blockade. We've already recovered all the losses since the start of the war. The S&P just hit an all-time high today. Oil futures are in the 80s for June delivery, and gas here at the pump is down from last week's highs. I'm sure it'll go much lower. I'm not saying this thing's over, but this does look like, and anything can happen, that Trump is about to stick the landing, and we'll just pray it happens.
You know, and Dana, you did have Caroline Levitt today say nothing is official until you hear it from us, but we feel good about the prospects of a deal.
Well, I think that the economic pressure, obviously, it's just like here, right? What people think about their pocketbook. And so that's true of the Iranian regime as well. So because they don't care about their people. The people were basically had no money. They were starving. And the Iranian regime said, oh, how about we give you $7 more a month? And the people said, heck no. And then when they protested, and then we know the rest of the story, unfortunately for them. But this actually hurts the regime. Because then, as Jesse was saying, if you're losing $500 million a day, like you can't operate, and that it doesn't take very long to hurt a regime in that case. I do hope that if they decide to meet, that it's not meeting just to meet, that it's meeting to say, you are going to agree to our terms and we will meet with you And if they're just going to come and try to drag it out, I wouldn't meet, and I would keep the pressure on, as I think that they are saying that they would be willing to do. I think President Trump on Sunday, this is just 3 days ago, called into Maria Bartiromo's show and said the gas prices might be lower, they might be the same, they might even be higher. And then today he said they're definitely going to be lower. I don't know if I would promise that, but if the trajectory would be, yes, that would seem to be the case. But one last point here on American energy independence that we enjoy versus what other countries have to deal with is that some of them are saying, being told, work from home, don't drive, turn out your lights. They're figuring out a way to do everything they possibly can all throughout Asia because they are more dependent on the energy from this region. It's more proximate to them. China gets 73% of its oil from the region. So it does hurt them as well. So there's incentive to try to get this done. And if China is doing anything, hopefully they are telling the Iranians, get with the program.
Yeah, and the blockade, to Jesse's point, does appear to be working. We gave you the numbers, but I want to play this from CENTCOM. CENTCOM put this out, and this was a warning sent to the Iranians. It's really interesting. Listen to this.
Do not attempt to breach the blockade. Vessels will be boarded for interdiction and seizure, transiting to or from an Iranian port. Turn around and prepare to be boarded. If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force. The whole of the United States Navy is ready to force compliance. Now.
Jessica, the reason I play that is because previously the Iranians have not understood words. They didn't understand Joe Biden saying don't, hence October 7th. They didn't understand Barack Obama and the deal, hence the violation of the deal. They understand that because you have a president that's used hard power and used force.
Sure. Listen, I hope that we end up with a very sparkly deal and that everybody on our side gets what they're after and that we can return, frankly, to some of the original goals that we had before the goalposts were shifted very dramatically down to what Secretary Rubio was talking about, which I call the skinny goals, like the Skinny Inflation Reduction Act. And maybe that's possible. But at this point, it sounds like you're still pretty far apart with the 5-year offer from the Iranians, apparently that we asked for 20 years, which wasn't even satisfactory for President Trump in terms of the enriched uranium. So I wish you the best of luck, right? And for the people who are going in, and I think Dana makes a really good point that you shouldn't go just for the sake of sitting there and looking like you're trying to get to a deal. You should keep up force and pressure and make them really serious when they do come to the table. But, you know, we're all focused on the Strait of Hormuz, which is the critical choke point in this conflict at this moment. The Strait of Hormuz was open before this happened. So we're blockading the blockade that came into existence because of the thing that we did. So we're essentially just trying to undo our work. And Donald Trump sits there with Maria Bartiromo and he says, you know, it'll take them 20 years to rebuild their program. Do you remember what people were saying about what happened just over the summer with Fordo, right? Their nuclear program was obliterated. There was no possibility of rebuilding it. And then just a few months later, we were back to, they're going to have, 11 nuclear bombs in a matter of weeks or whatever it was that Bibi Netanyahu was saying. So we're obviously getting some mixed signals here about what they can do. Mark Warner, the point that he's making about the regime, I think is important to consider because we're not doing regime change anymore in the way that the Israelis were hoping to. It wasn't an ideal scenario to have the Ayatollah's son take over, who we all agree is more of a hardliner. But the Wall Street Journal did a deep dive piece today on what the regime will look like afterwards. They have the former head of the Iran desk for the Israelis who said the war changed the regime and not in a good way. We created a reality that is worse for the Iranians that they were facing before the war. And this new national security chief, Mohammad Bagher Zolgadar, I probably mispronounced that. He's a former Revolutionary Guard commander. Apparently, he was so extreme that when he was in charge, Soleimani actually quit for a little while. The guy that we took out, that President Trump, you know, he begged like a dog. I think that's what he said about it. He was so violent and so extreme that Soleimani was like, I'm going to take a little breather from working from this guy. So we are leaving in place, if we get out now with a deal, a regime that is much harsher than the older Ayatollah that we had before this, and that's important to consider.
Yeah, a lot of ifs there, and Greg, regime change was never the goal, but a non-nuclear Iran is the goal.
Yeah, none of that stuff means anything to us. The Strait of Hormuz was open before. Well, that's because Iran had the power to keep it open and close it at will. Now they don't. They have closed it before, but now they can't close it. That is gone. You can't pretend that the last 45 days didn't create a global change that is so positive. I would almost call it, Jessica, dare I call it, a sparkly victory. Yes, it's a sparkly victory. I like that. I'm going to use that from now on. The only people who were right about this were the people who said, I don't know anything, and the people who said, do not trust the judgment of people who said Joe Biden was sharp as a tack, the laptop was fake, and the border is secure. If you had those two positions at the beginning of this 45-day affair, you would look like Nostradamus in a Miss Cleo fright wig. You were dead on, because you are right. Now, you filled in all those gaps of uncertainty with faith because you saw how Trump acted before, and you said, you know what? I think he probably does know what he's doing, but he's not going to tell the press that is in a cycle of hysteria. The thing about Warner is, if stuff in Iran is bad for us, it's good because it's bad for Trump, forgetting that it's still bad for us. It is the Trump America First alignment problem that has been vexing the left forever with every 80-20 issue. What is good for Trump is good for America. If we want something bad for Trump, then it has to make America suck. So, and it's vice versa. So if you feel great that Trump is screwed on Iran, then you also must accept that America is screwed as well. But that's hard to do when you're faced with such a lopsided contest. Jesse points it out, Iran's nearly militarily finished. And the leaders that are left, I mean, you're talking about as though you don't, they are scared to death of each other. If one of them cuts a deal and the other one doesn't, this one dies. It's the prisoner's dilemma writ large, where mistrust is going to lead to tremendous consequences. I don't know how they get into that. Add to the fact that the media cycle has been replaced by a hysteria cycle. Hasn't affected us, maybe Jessica, but not me. But you know who it affected? Europe. The hysteria cycle turned the entirety of Europe into losers. They followed our press, and they didn't help out a friend. You know, as customers around the world flock to the United States for oil, what is England doing? What is Spain doing? What is France doing? I firmly believe that we should take the Falklands back, even though they weren't ours, but just to teach England a lesson. Like, you know what? Who helped them on the Falklands?
And then give it to Argentina. Then give it back to Argentina.
Yes, yeah. We helped England get Falklands, and they said, fuck off? No. So the thing is, why do so many people hate America first? If it's not just Trump, it's also the underlying concept of being mean, that they see the planet as everybody working together. They have no clue that every other country would do exactly what we would do if they could, because a good leader leads their country first. Even, you know, as much as you hate a certain leader, that leader is trying to operate for his country, unless they're like complete despots, you know, whatever. It would be nice if other countries were as good as America. Then we wouldn't have millions of people clamoring to get in. So I think it's pretty funny that the anti-American left refused to account for the world actually thinking we're better than they are.
That's a very sparkly point, Greg.
Thank you.
Yep. The sparkly victory. I love it.
You said sparkly as a denigration of something that is truly majestic. It really is majestic.
Oh, sparkly is embarrassing to say, but majestic about a deal that doesn't even exist or a conflict that.
I'm talking about the last 45 days.
It's been majestic.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of, yeah.
We have different definitions.
Tell me what is not amazing.
Don't get her started.
I know, but you will have to try very hard.
No,
That's why she had to pivot away from Straits of Hormuz. Look, Trump let all the midwits gorge on passed around opinions and just sat there and got it done.
Yep.
It's already done.
But you would say that all of our allies don't even have their own intel, which, by the way, we were mad because they weren't going to share with us anymore.
We got to run, but
you know what's not majestic, though? How much your gas costs.
There you go. Well, you didn't care about that when Biden was president.
Actually, I
but we can actually show you why your gas is going up.
We know why.
We still don't know why gas went up under Biden. Why was it?
Inflation went up because there was a global health pandemic. Oh, well, yes, because of Hunter's.
Jessica, we got to run, but something that would be truly majestic, would be for your colleagues to root for the sparkly deal that you're rooting for. So we will see.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.